Hello, I'm Locke Meredith. I'd like to invite you to join me on the next Legal Lines, where my guest is Roxson Welch. She's the Executive Director of the Truancy Center. Roxson's going to discuss truancy. What's truancy? A child not going to school. Parents or the guardians of that child can be held absolutely responsible if their kid misses more than 5 unexcused absences from school. Penalties can be $250 per occurrence, plus 6 months in jail. So join us on the next Legal Lines with Roxson Welch. Hi, I'm Locke Meredith, and I'd like to thank you on behalf of myself, Sean Fagan, Corey Ogeron, and our entire staff for being our Legal Lines audience for almost 15 years. Our audience now is over 500,000 households. I'd also like to thank Cox Channel 4 and my friend Eric Coleman for being with me from the beginning. From all of us, thank you. Welcome to Legal Lines. I'm Locke Meredith, and I'm very pleased to have on the show today Roxson Welch. She is the Executive Director for the Truancy Center here in East Baton Rouge Parish. Roxson, it's great to have you on the show.
Nice to see you, Locke.
You know, I've done a lot of shows with a lot of our law enforcement personnel who've been involved at the state and the local parish level, the district attorney, Hiller Moore, and it's all very clear to them that education, or the lack thereof, is a huge contributor to the ultimate life of crime for so many of the folks who are in jail and prisons right now. And so I thought this was wonderful that East Baton Rouge Parish has set up the Truancy Center. Tell us about it.
Yeah, it's a family and youth service center, and that's important. We address the truancy issue when we address it aggressively, because that's the child's life. And that ultimately, that's our lives too, because these children, if they don't have choices, they make bad choices.
And let's define truancy. That's kind of a fancy word for what?
Oh no, it's a very clear designation, legal designation. All children are required. We have a law that says all children must go to school. And if they don't go to school, then, and even homeschool, there are laws that specify what homeschool is, and just saying it is not enough, and parents need to understand that.
That's interesting.
That's very specific, and so you have to be certified, you have a certification. There's more than I'm homeschooled. So parents need to be aware that those things don't fly.
And so truancy is the failure of a student or a child to attend school in accordance with criteria set out by the state of Louisiana.
The state of Louisiana. 5 unexcused absences in one semester, 10 in a year. The child is truant, and the parent can be prosecuted.
And I understand
for failure to supervise.
And as I understand it, if you miss more than 10 or have more than 10 absences, or miss school more than 10 times without an excuse, you don't move to the next grade.
You cannot pass without having a hearing that shows extenuating circumstances. So you have to have a hearing to be able to even pass. That's wrong to do that to a child.
And let's talk about that, because that was my exact next question. Why is that law in place? Why is it that this is a focus of our government, that a child attend school? I mean, you've been involved in education for a long time now.
It's choices. The truth is everybody is going to take care of certain needs. And if you have no other choice, because you can't get a job, you can't keep a job, you can't read, you can't write, you can't do math, you can't do any of these things, you're still going to take care of your basic needs. Hence the juvenile justice problem and our criminal problem. People are going to take care of their needs. So legally, you've got to have something in place to give kids options in life. And if their parents don't step up and do what they should do, or their guardians don't step up, then we have to.
So the law's in place to make sure that a child is given a chance to succeed at life.
Right.
That's the bottom line.
Right.
Let's talk about quickly just kind of your background, because it really is extensive. I mean, you have poured your entire adult life into children. But quickly educate the folks on your educational background.
Oh, I'm a teacher. The truth is I'm a teacher.
Yeah, but you're not just any teacher. You were given a presidential award as what, Teacher of the Year?
Yeah.
in math and science. And have also been recognized both regionally in the South and by our state and by, of course, our local folks. Amazing accomplishments. You've been doing it how long?
Longer than I am
I can't
old.
ask that question, can I?
Much longer than I am old.
You've been doing it a long time.
Been doing it about 40 years.
And you've also, you've been involved on the government side of this thing. As I recall, you were on the Metro Council.
Yes.
Ran for mayor in 2000.
With the same idea that education is important. The truth is, education defines our community, plain and simple.
And so you've poured out your life. I think you were heading up this push for the mayor's office prior to the establishment of the Truancy Center. So you've been pouring into this cause for a long time.
Yeah, I was the education outreach coordinator for Mayor Holden because it's important. You're not going to build a city if you don't build the kids. It's just quite simple.
And so give us some history about the Truancy Center. I mean, as I understand it, it's been a work in progress for quite a while, and it came online, September of last year?
Actually, in place, physical place to be. About 3 years ago, back when, I tell you when it started, when Hiller Moore was elected as district attorney, he was very concerned about the fact that his budget was never going to allow for the exponential growth of crime and juvenile crime, period. He went to the mayor, they had a discussion, they brought me in because of my background in education, and we brought some other people in, we talked about this. Teachers know early on what the problem is, that there's a problem brewing, you know it.
Meaning with a child?
With a child or the family.
Okay.
And by the time the kid is in the 2nd grade, you know if there's going to be a problem, almost always, because you see it building. The truth is national studies have been made, and it's always the same thing. Truancy is the first indicator of a potential life of crime. You see it the very first time, so why not step in early enough before they ever get into a juvenile system and put the supports in place to avoid that? It is so much easier keeping a child out of trouble than to get them out of trouble.
And for those who really don't care about that component, a whole lot cheaper too than housing them in a jail or a prison for years on end.
$300,000 a year is what I was told to house a juvenile in an adult prison. $300,000 a year per juvenile that's housed in an adult prison.
So if we catch them when they're young, not only are we saving those monies, but way more important, we're saving a life and helping the child be productive and fruitful and have a fulfilling life and contribute to society.
Well, that's the other thing. That's the other thing that gets missed. Imagine this. First of all, we know of the problems, but we don't know what we've lost. Right. Imagine all these children that could have been something great, could have been something wonderful. We will never know, because we lost their potential. And so that's part of the picture too. We lose people that I see in my office that it's like, wow, what great people.
Interesting.
You know, that interesting kids that if you just spent time to talk to them, I don't want to lose their potential. I think this whole community would be so much better having them add to our richness.
Absolutely. So we are now at the year anniversary. Explain to the folks how the institution or the center is funded right now.
We have 4 partners. And we've got the mayor's office, the district attorney, the East Baton Rouge Parish School System, and the sheriff's office. All 4 of them have given us $100,000 per year for 3 years of a commitment as seed money to get us going. When that time is up, which will be next year, then that period of time will be replaced. That money will be replaced by lease payments.
Excellent. All right, we'll continue this on the next segment. This is Locke Meredith. We have Roxson Welch, the Executive Director for the Truancy Center, and we'll be right back. Hi, I'm Locke Meredith, and I'd like to thank you on behalf of myself, Sean Fagan, Corey Ogeron, and our entire staff for being our Legal Lines audience for almost 15 years. Our audience now is over 500,000 households. I'd also like to thank Cox Channel 4 and my friend Eric Coleman for being with me from the beginning. From all of us, thank you. Welcome back to Legal Lines. I'm Locke, Meredith, and again, we're pleased to have on the show today Roxson Welch. She is the Executive Director of the East Baton Rouge Parish Truancy Center. Roxson, let's dive right back into this thing. 38,000 students just in the East Baton Rouge Parish school system, and as I understand it, more than that when you add in homeschool and what?
The Recovery School District and the other public schools, Central, Baker, Zachary. Quite a few kids.
So we're probably more around 45,000.
Oh yeah.
And so the Truancy Center has been set up to help catch the children who are at risk and hopefully save them and give them an education. And if they're not getting what they need, step in and provide the services. So let's talk about the causes in your experience and based on the studies and the research for this phenomenon of a parent or a guardian not making sure their child is being educated.
Yeah, it's a problem because what you've got, right now we've got third generation of families that have not gone to school. And so they've lost the value, they don't understand the value.
It's never been modeled to them, much less are they going to model it to their own children.
And the truth is
Wow.
for us to say these children need it and the mother didn't get it, and the grandmother didn't get it, then at that point the mother was never exposed to anybody who did. And so for her to say that my child must have this, they don't see it. And
that's not their experience.
That's not what they're around, which at all. They never have been around it. And so to them, it's hard for people to understand, and I know this, but for them, this is their normal. And so it's very hard to fight back from normal. And what we define that way is different than what others can define that way.
So one of the causes of a child not attending school is the family just doesn't deem it valuable or necessary.
Right.
And then I assume that there's environmental
well, that's part of it too. You
issues.
see, the fact is it's like I was saying, the mother, and I say the mother because generally it is a mother that we have to deal with, and the mothers, everyone around them. So it's the neighborhood they come from, the children see. They're not exposed to anything else. They're not exposed to people who get a good job, who get a good education, because if that happens, they move out. And they move away. And so the children are not exposed to this. And so they don't even see it that way.
And then I guess environmentally within that term can mean that they're exposed to a world that no child would do well under, including extraordinary levels of violence.
Oh yeah, terrible violence that they're exposed to, that they witness. And that really, you can have a situation where someone is killed in another person's yard, or in their yard. The children see it. The police show up. There are children everywhere, and adults crying, adults upset. But who's taking care of the children?
Roxson, I read a newspaper account that you gave where one of the children you were helping literally had witnessed such violence and was splattered with the blood from the event.
Yeah, right. And that very mother said, I'm doing okay. And really, she was one of the ones. It's a third generation. And in her mind, she was doing okay.
It's just a way of life.
It's a way of life that
Wow.
she never knows any different.
And then I assume also that there are just circumstances with the individual children, whether because they've never been to school regular, so they don't have the skills to continue to progress forward where maybe they would normally be, or maybe there's a mental or physical or emotional, given the level of violence a lot of them are exposed to, that just make them not want to participate.
Well, we've got a child, a young lady that I'm very, very fond of, but she was in the 6th grade for 4 years. For 4 years in the 6th grade.
That
Not
can't
that she
be great
wasn't
for your
smart.
self-esteem.
No, and she's a very smart girl. But it all started, and you see this is the slippery slope. It all started because Mama had to get up early in the morning to go to work. Mama had to get up and go to work. She thought everything was fine. 6th grade kid doesn't really want to go to school every day. And so she didn't go to school the first day. The second day she didn't go to school because she didn't know what happened the day before. And then that gets to where you don't want to go back because it's embarrassing to go back. And it falls from there. That's exactly what happened to this young lady. So she failed the 6th grade. Shouldn't have failed the 6th grade, way too smart to fail the 6th grade, but she did. And she failed it again. And she failed it again. And she failed it again. And you know why? All of the reasons came down to one thing: attendance. Not
Just
that
didn't
she's
go.
not smart enough. And she was set to fail again the 5th time. But because there was intervention, we saw it. And so the school system stepped up to the plate and said, we can fix this. And they have. They put her directly in the 7th grade. She'll test out. And then she'll test out in a couple of months.
Right.
And when she tests out, she'll go into the 8th grade, pass the LEAP test, and then this summer she can work and she can get credit recovery. And hopefully by the following school year, which is 1 year from now, this young lady will be entering the 10th grade.
Age appropriate.
Age appropriate. Wow. And she's going to school. She's going to school. Now, she's a success story.
Right. And there's more of those.
Oh, and
from
she's
our
a great
conversations.
kid. She's one of the kind that you just don't want to lose. And there's lots of stories like this.
So the source or the identifying the child mechanism is the school system right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
The school system identifies
And
the
they're
children.
relying on the teachers who see these children.
No, they rely on something more than that.
Right.
They have an eSchool Plus. And so the kids, this is strictly by attendance. And then sometimes it's behavior. That's why we're really not the Truancy Center. What we are is we address truancy, and we aggressively address truancy, but we also address behavior problems. So a kid gets expelled or suspended, then they'll come to the center because of behavior. We have services there, and the services are services that are there. Mama doesn't have to go all over the parish to get them. They're right there. And so it makes more sense. But yes, the school system refers, and it can be any school system, and this is really important.
Okay.
We've had some schools that are parochial schools that have called us and said, can we use your services? Well, of course. We're East Baton Rouge Parish. We've had Baker, they've called us. Central has called us on a couple of issues. We can do this because that's what we do, parish-wide. So it's very important for people to understand that our services are parish-wide. And if
Right.
somebody sends them to us and they say, we need help, this family needs help, if it's a significant amount of help, then we will do what we call a staffing. So we bring the different agencies into the table with the mama and with the guardian. The guardian is not always the mama. With the guardian, and quite often with the child. So we can find out what really is going on and what their perception of what's going on is. And then at the table, we decide with the family what is the best route to approach this problem. And then we put things in place.
So the process is that the school educational facility, so to speak, identifies the child. Y'all then become involved and y'all send them a notice that hey, your child's not attending school the way they need to, and one more absence and we're coming to see you. It's going to change the whole ballgame. So let's continue this on the next segment. This is Locke, Meredith, Legal Lines. Roxson Welch will be right back. Hi, I'm Locke Meredith, and I'd like to thank you on behalf of myself, Sean Fagan, Corey Ogeron, and our entire staff for being our Legal Lines audience for almost 15 years. Our audience now is over 500,000 households. I'd also like to thank Cox Channel 4 and my friend Eric Coleman for being with me from the beginning. From all of us, thank you. Welcome back to Legal Lines. Again, I'm very pleased to have on the show Roxson Welch. She's the Executive Director for the East Baton Rouge Parish Truancy Center. Let's dive right back in. We were talking about the process. So you get information from the school that a child has, 4 absences or 5?
Well, actually what happens, the first step is at three unexcused absences, every day they get a call if a child is unexcused. So they know this. But then at 3.
From the school they get it, meaning the parent gets a call?
Yeah.
Okay, wow.
Every unexcused
So the school the
absence.
whole time's involved. Say, hey, where's your
School the
kid?
whole time. That's it.
Okay.
And so it's not like you don't know.
Okay.
After 3 unexcused absences, the school sends them a letter that says, 5 is your limit, and so you better step it up. And so at 5 unexcused absences, then at that point, child welfare and attendance are tasked, and usually it's child welfare and attendance that does this. They will notice us, and then at that point, they fill out an intake form, and it's a computerized data base that we have. We send out a letter. We send out the letter saying, you have exceeded the 5 unexcused absences. This is a problem.
And that
you need to come. That comes from us and the district attorney.
Okay, and that's what I thought, that Hill Moore, the district attorney, has those 5 child welfare assistants?
Yeah, assistants
attendants?
that deal with that specifically.
Okay, and so the legal system's now involved.
Well, the legal system's already involved because this letter goes out, and then they come to the center for a meeting, and this meeting is for a lot of people that have fallen within that 5.
And when you say they, the parent or guardian and the child?
The guardian. Actually, on that meeting, we prefer just the guardian. We want the
Okay.
kids in school. We don't want the kids out of school.
Right.
And so the
Makes
guardian
sense.
comes. The guardian comes, and then we tell them, this is the law. We want to make sure you understand the law. We want to give you a chance to explain to us what has gone wrong, because sometimes it's something very simple. So we take care of all of these little things. And hopefully we can take care of all of them, but of course we don't. But we do take care of a significant number, and we get it down. But we now have them. First of all, if they don't show up to the meeting, that's logged in too, you see.
Interesting.
And so from this point forward, everything
It's a legal
is
proceeding
followed.
almost.
It is a legal proceeding. From this point forward, we follow everything. We document the fact that
Creating
they got a
evidence.
letter. We create evidence. We document that they got a letter. We document that they came or they didn't come. If they came, yay, it goes down as a check. If they failed to come, it goes down as a no-show, and that automatically kicks in. The next unexcused absence is gone.
Roxson, what I was thinking too, as you were talking, is you talked about how y'all have 5 of those child welfare assistants, and we're talking about what, almost 5,000 children that y'all are dealing with.
In East Baton Rouge Parish Public Schools alone, not, like I said, not to mention the recovery school districts.
All right, so you have the meeting with the guardian parent, you lay down the right act, and you say, look, you screw up again, the consequences can be jail, 6 months in jail, fines of $250 per occurrence,
Yeah.
per
For
child.
violation.
Holy moly.
It can be significant.
And so it sounds like a lot of the folks, the guardians, go ahead and they kick in gear and they make sure the child's there. But for those who don't, what's the process at that point?
Well, now, you see, we do keep up with this very, very clearly. So parents need to understand that we know when these kids are absent, because our system kicks in and says, check on this, check on this, check on this. And so they don't get lost anymore. That's number one.
So nobody's falling through the cracks?
Nobody's falling through the cracks. We're very aware of what's going on because we've got this database that now follows this.
I think I
And
also
so-
read one of your articles that indicated that has actually helped identify abandoned children or homeless children.
Oh, yeah, that's amazing. All the children that are just nowhere, and people have given up on them, but that's not legal. You've got to know. Kids can't just drop off the face of the earth, because what can happen to them then? So we're following through on
Excellent.
kids
Excellent.
that have suddenly just disappeared.
All right.
And so we go back and follow that too. So we've been really good about following these things.
So
but-
once the parent or guardian does not comply after the meetings by ensuring the child attends school,
Everything is forwarded at that point of that parent, that guardian, to the district attorney, and then prosecution steps are begun.
and that as I understand it, normally occurs in front of the juvenile court judges.
Yes.
And our district attorney, Hiller Moore, has his folks, his prosecutors, that go in and advise the court this is what the problem is. And does the child and the parent or guardian attend the hearing?
It depends on what's appropriate. Sometimes this is a child issue because it becomes a child issue. It's like I said, sometimes the problems are bigger than the kid, and the kid is bigger than the parent. And when it's that case, then what you've got is you've got a child issue too. And so they'll bring in both.
And that brings up a point. I mean, we're talking about children as if they're one age, but you're dealing with children who could be as young as 4 years of age up to 18 or 19 if they're still in high school.
Right.
Very interesting. So they attend a hearing typically in front of a juvenile court judge, and what happens at that point?
Normally what happens is they say, we need you to do X, Y, Z, which are basically what we've already said. Now you understand, like, before they ever get in front of a judge, this is what has happened. And this is what's very important. First of all, the school has tried to get them to do the right thing. Then Child Welfare and Attendance has tried to get them to do the right thing. We have tried to get them to do the right thing with the district attorney standing there telling them what the right thing is. And then at that point, they've got 3 different people.
3 strikes and you're out.
Right. And so then it goes to a juvenile judge that says, just do the right thing, what we've been saying all along. This is a service plan that needs to be in place for you to do the right thing. If none of that works, then there's no other choice but save the child. And at that point, and only at that point, if the judge says, do this, and they still fail to do it, then save the child or the children. And then at that point, the judge can put them in jail and has put parents in
And I
jail.
know I read articles where, a summons is issued when they don't comply. And I was reading one article where eight ladies, it was all women because they said no men were identified as the guardian, I guess, in the school records. They're arrested and carted down, and their heinies are sitting in jail.
Yep, embarrassing.
And names in newspapers.
These newspapers. But it's interesting, you and I were talking about this earlier, it's interesting that we have issued, I say we, and I mean the sheriff's office and the constable's office and the city police, issued summons to over 100 people. And then some of them went to a level of those 8 women that they were actually brought in. But out of that, today we pulled the records, and out of that there are 4 kids that are not compliant this school year. 4. And 2 of those were from the same family, so you've got 3 moms.
Which shows you how extraordinarily successful the program's been. Right. So out of well over 5,000 kids who were having truant problems, we're down to 4 who haven't dealt with it.
Yeah, and we've got moms that call and grandmas that call. Now they're self-reporting because they've heard about this.
That's interesting.
Which is really interesting. You know, I'm not going to jail over this. I need help. That's what we want. We want to help. And so we're good with that.
And as I understand it, the help that y'all provide is not just in terms of classroom or tutoring, that there's mental and physical and emotional and at times financial resources that are identified for the children and the guardians.
Right. Substance abuse counseling, all kinds of services can be found there or can be accessed through us.
Roxson, thank you so very much. We appreciate you doing it. The Executive Director for the Truancy Center, thank you for being with us.